there's so much uncertainty in the future on like what your life is going to be like because you're really like putting yourself in new place altogether. So definitely felt very nervous, very anxious. That was one of the biggest things that really made me really sad to leave Singapore. When I went overseas, I'm essentially leaving my life in Singapore behind, and that includes my relationships with my friends and everything. I realized when I got into that mode of thinking, it got very scary. I definitely do see the negative things in life as well. I definitely gone through my own episodes of my low moments for sure. So you can work your whole life and try to get as much money as possible, but then if you don't take active steps to invest in life things like your friends, family, relationships, and all that kind of stuff, then what's the point of living in the first place?
Well, growing up, some of us don't foresee the sacrifice we will make until the moment we look back at our family and friends and realize we are leaving the nest to experience the world by ourselves. In this episode, James calls us in from Australia where he resides, talking about living abroad, managing expectations, and what it means to live with the uncertainty of the future. Without further ado, my name is Nicky Adopt, and this is the Next Adventure Podcast. James, now that you're 25, you're still 25 this year, would you have imagined yourself where you are at right now 5 years ago?
Ooh, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was in NS, so definitely not. I definitely wouldn't think that I would be studying overseas even. I definitely wouldn't think that I would have stayed this long away from home. Yeah, so yeah, definitely it has been quite a journey and quite a surprise in terms of how my life has, and in the direction that my life has taken in the past few years. Yeah.
Before we dive into talking about sort of like your journey of, technically your self-introduction of yourself, we'll talk about the journey itself. Can you just give a little view for the viewers? Who are you and
sure.
what you do? Yeah.
Yeah, hey guys. My name is James. I started studying overseas in Australia, in Melbourne, specifically in the year 2019. Yeah, so how I ended up studying overseas is that my parents were very supportive and very encouraging of me to take on the experience. So I am very blessed for the support that my parents have given me. And the real reason why they essentially wanted me to go is so that I can have this unique experience outside of Singapore to gain, I guess, a new exposure in a new environment. And I guess for myself, why I wanted to go, I guess to really challenge myself and to grow as a person as well, to really gain like proper independence in terms of learning to take care of myself in a place where it's like separated from family and everything. And also just to take on the privilege and the chance to study in a new environment after years of studying in Singapore. Yeah, so that's essentially where I am right now.
What was the feeling like when you like left Singapore during the final moments in Singapore?
Ooh, funnily enough, it felt it felt a little bit like the night I was gonna go and get enlisted in NS. So yeah, no, honestly, because it's like definitely the nervousness kicks in. The whole fact that you're traveling in or going to this unfamiliar environment, this place that you are not familiar with, and there's so much uncertainty in the future on like what your life is going to be like because you're really like putting yourself in new place altogether. So definitely felt very nervous, very anxious, and also at the time as well, I was looking at my friends, my family back at home, and I was like, oh wow, this is my life now, and I'm going to leave all this behind. So definitely it felt very sad as well. But the cool thing about this is, and I think I've experienced this enough to know myself. I know that I'm feeling all these feelings of nervousness now, these feelings of anxiety now, because of all the uncertainty that has yet to come. For me, I am quite a people person. I like to interact with people, make lots of friends. I just know for a fact that the moment I start making friends and get to know people here and there, and build a community for myself, I'll be fine. Yeah. So I think thanks to that, it made me more excited for like what's to come, what are the new opportunities. And I realized it was like kind of starting on a clean slate starting on a clean slate when I first arrived in Australia. So yeah.
I guess I'm also quite uncertain of what I want to ask because there were so many things that were going through my mind at the time where a lot of people, not only you, but a lot of people were going overseas because they wanted to sort of like get out of this country. It's quite stifling here, and in the sense where they kind of don't know what to do. And in the same sense where you kind of also didn't know what to do. And it seems that you have
Mhm.
this sort of pattern throughout your life, which you have mentioned while you are in poly and even
Mhm.
now that you've already graduated from uni, this uncertainty of like what's next kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do you live with that?
Ooh. Okay. So how do I come to how do I guess rest with the feelings of uncertainty, constant feelings of uncertainty throughout my life, is that first of all, I think the very first thing is to really manage my expectations of myself. Because I do think that, especially when you're thinking about future plans of your future careers and everything, and what your life is going to be like for the rest of your life, that's the key thing you see. People always think that, oh, I need to think of a plan that will have me settled for the rest of my life. But the reality is that in life, you're going to go through life in stages. Instead of thinking about, oh, what am I going to do for this part of my life and that part of my life all the way until retirement. I think instead I learned to manage my expectations in terms of, okay, let's take this a step at a time. For example, I just finished NS. So what are my options now? Oh, I need to think about uni. Okay, local, overseas. Okay, let's focus on that for now. And I guess also like in terms of choosing courses and everything, or what would I be generally interested in doing, or what I be more inclined towards doing. So that's my current step that I need to take for now to focus my energy on that instead of thinking about, oh, what do I do now that will determine the course of my future and everything and all that kind of stuff to the very ends of my life, that kind of things. I think that's when people fall into the trap of trying to put all the weight of expectations on their shoulders instead of taking it a step at a time. So now, for example, I just finished uni. Still, yeah, definitely still uncertain of what my life is going to be like, especially as an international student in a foreign country. But right now, what I do know I need to do is take the next step, which is to find a job, get myself into somewhere first, start working, and have a good think about what I want to do in terms of a career and get into the first job first and really try it out in terms of what I would like to do. And if I have to change direction in terms of like, oh, instead of doing, for example, marketing, I maybe want to do accounting instead, then okay, I will change my direction from that stage on. So yeah, I think that's generally the idea that I have in terms of living with the uncertainty and everything. So it's just to manage expectations and take things one step at a time. Yeah. So that's for me. Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I think right now, I just finished my bachelor in business. I majored in marketing and finance, and honestly, definitely prefer marketing over finance. So, yeah, there's really no competition there right now in terms of my interest. So yeah, I definitely would like to pursue something in marketing, or at least in a field related to marketing. But I guess the problem now is I'm not sure exactly which area of marketing I like to do. I guess one problem that I'm facing right now is I haven't really had much experiences, a work experience in any fields of marketing in any companies before. Yeah, so I think right now I'm aiming to look for internships in the meantime until some other company opens up hiring a position, which usually occurs at a certain part of the year. So I have until then. I'm hoping to try to find an internship, try to expose myself to as much experiences as possible, and hopefully from there have a good feel of what area I'd like to focus on instead. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's for me generally.
That seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did this documentary back in 2019 or 2020 called Now That I'm 25,
Mm-hmm.
where I basically brought a bunch of friends who are basically our age together.
Yeah.
And in terms of Singaporeans comparing each other to each other kind of thing, I wanted to have a baseline of how everyone is the same, grew up the same time, same timeline and everything. And then we compare where we're at each other.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted you to be on the documentary, but you just wasn't in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I get to ask these questions right now. So
Mhm.
what exactly are you chasing in life?
That is a very good question. Ah, I guess for me, what I am chasing is essentially um a life that okay lah. It's gonna sound very cliche, but it's pretty much a fulfilling life. Yeah. But okay, but then here's a question like, what do I define as a fulfilling life? I think, yeah, there we go. You're probably gonna ask that next, right? But yes. So, probably what I define as a fulfilling life is essentially, I guess, I probably won't answer the question, but one thing that comes to mind is a life with no regrets. For example, careers, what I want to do and everything. I really hope I could do something that is in line with my interests. Because I think one of the struggles that I faced personally was that I studied accounting in poly. And big reason why I did that is because a lot of people are saying, oh, that's a very safe area, that's a very safe option for you to pursue and everything. And they are very, very right. Of course, a lot of companies needs accounting, needs accountants. Yeah. So then when I mentioned, oh, I'm thinking of doing marketing, then a lot of people will be like, marketing, not sure if there's a lot of prospects in the area, buddy, in terms of money, in terms of all the kind of stuff and all that. So I think when people compare themselves to others, right, they were always pursuing all the very, I mean, the I don't know, the typical stuff that Singaporeans always pursue after about the don't know how many C's, about condo, car, all the kind of stuff,
Five C's.
cash.
Yeah.
Five C's, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, but I got something like that. People are like, oh, I want to make as much money as possible. I want to get like the best house and everything. But I think for me, right, what I want is essentially stuff that I'm content with. So I'm not looking for a condo. I'm good with a HDB flat. I'm not looking for a job that is gonna give me like heaps and heaps of cash, but instead I'm looking for a job that I enjoy doing. Well, of course, I think definitely with a good balance of both an area that I like to do, but also a decent amount of pay to, I guess, sustain my life. Yeah, I guess it's just really finding that sweet spot in between, and not putting my expectations super super high, reach like that pinnacle of success, that of material success that a lot of people are looking for, but instead, I guess, to find a life that essentially is really what, as I said, a fulfilling life. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's the whole work-life balance thing where it's like you can work your whole life and try to get as much money as possible. But then if you don't take active steps to invest in life things like your friends, family, relationships, and all that kind of stuff, even spiritual growth, even I'd say, then what's the point of living in the first place? Yeah. So that's why I like to have a balance of both. Yeah. Essentially to pursue things, the wonderful treasures that life offers, but at the same time also not neglecting the hard work that needs to be put in as well, to provide the sustainability as well, which is your finances, your job, your career, and everything. So yeah, it is a bit of balance of both, I'd say. Yeah.
Mhm. It's very interesting. You're talking about balance,
Mm.
and in the whole
Yep.
conversation that we are having, you have this uncertainty, which is
Mm-hmm.
balanced out with a very good solid answers of you kind of know what you want to do, yet you don't know what you want to do at the same time, which is very interesting.
Uh,
Yeah. How do you feel like that?
oh, how do I feel like both the
Yeah,
uncertainty but also certainty in a sense? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the feelings of what I would like to do and my certainty is, I guess, things in terms of my interest in based off elements like my interest, based off elements of like my personality, of who I am as a person. Because of course these past few years I've learned a bit more about who I am and what areas I'm inclined towards, especially in the area of business, because there's just so many areas you could look at to work in. Um, so that's a bit more insight seeking. But however, at the same time, right, the challenge that's honestly the challenge about life as well. Life doesn't really go the way you want it to go. It doesn't really go fully like as planned. For me, I can say, oh, I like to do marketing. I really want to do marketing, but what if instead life has different plans for me and I end up doing accounting instead? I guess that's where the uncertainty comes in, because I really don't know where life is, what the heck life is gonna throw at me in the next few years to come, or in these challenges that I might have to face soon. So I think that's why it goes back to what I said earlier, which is that learning to manage your expectations, and I guess also learning to be flexible as well, in terms of you feel you want to achieve in your whole life as a whole. Because it's very easy to say, oh, I like to have this set plan that I'm gonna do. I have steps one A to Z and everything is gonna be a perfect plan, and it's gonna lead me to success for the rest of my life till retirement.
Mhm.
And then what if life throws you a curveball and suddenly, you're doing something that is out of the plan? So what now? Are you gonna despair? Yeah. So I realized that I realized when I got into that mode of thinking, it got very scary. It got very, lack of a better word, despairy. But that's us. That's because the reality is your plan is not gonna go the way it's gonna go. So instead, right, make a plan, make a skeleton. Good to have thought out your plan, but then also learn to be flexible as well and see where life takes you lah. So right now, I would say I am very keen to look for marketing jobs. But one of the things that I'm also trying to do is try to stay in Australia long term, trying to aim for a PR as well. And here's I guess or rather here's the gambit lah. Marketing job will not get me a good chance to stay as a PR, or as it will not give me a good chance to get a PR, but an accounting job will. So yeah, so that's the thing. So these are things that I'm actually considering right now in my life as well. Do I want to make a few sacrifices and to take steps actively to work towards getting a PR? And that involves me like sacrificing my chances to go into marketing first and then to go to accounting and then from there to get a PR, or do I want to be stubborn and just take a marketing job and hope somehow life provides, that kind of thing. So this is a very interesting stage of my life right now. I'm really at this crossroads of decisions of what I want to do in my life, and both options are not necessarily bad. It's just the timeline and outlook of how I expect things to happen and stuff like that lah. Yeah. So
In one of my other podcasts, I talk with my guests on what is the right path, and we will never really understand which is the right path compared to the other one, because we never even took that one. So whatever path that we're on, we're kind of that is the path that we're on. So just now you did say that you want to live life without regrets, but looking back, is there any part of that path that you regret?
Oh, first thought that comes to mind is that so I mentioned that I studied marketing and finance as my double majors for my bachelor's, right? One big regret was I should have taken accounting instead of finance, because comparatively I actually enjoy accounting over finance. And yes, there's a difference between the two if you guys don't know that right now. But yeah, but here's a funny thing. I don't actually prefer accounting over marketing, but comparatively I prefer accounting over finance. So it's like preferences from top to bottom is marketing, accounting, and then finance. Yeah. Also no, marketing, accounting, finance. Yeah. So I guess one of the regrets that I did, and this actually did shake me quite a bit, because I was like, oh no, I didn't study accounting in uni. But now, like in terms of a job, right, I rather look for an accounting job over a finance job if I can't do marketing. So then, oh, am I doomed already? That kind of stuff. But here's the interesting thing. I have talked to a few friends who are now working in full-time accounting jobs in Australia. Used to be international students as well. And I asked them that, do I need to graduate with accounting qualifications to get into an accounting job? And surprisingly, they said no. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm not sure if this is a culture difference between Singapore and Australia, but generally what they say is that, oh yeah, you can just apply, and it doesn't really matter that much because we still teach you the basics anyway from the start. We still have to train you from the start anyway. I'm just like, oh, this is so interesting. Yeah. So which is why I guess, yeah, this is also a bit of my considerations as well in terms of my path. Yeah. Yeah, I think in terms of regrets, that's the only main one I can think of right now. Yeah.
You also talked about sacrifices basically that you
Yep.
have to make in terms of the decisions that you have to make.
Yep.
What thought came to mind of something that you had to sacrifice before you made the decision to leave Singapore?
Good question. What sacrifices?
It's sort of like maybe it was a deal
Yeah.
breaker or something. And I was like, maybe I really need to stay. But overall, you went lah. What was that? One of, don't know, that stopped you, tried to stop you.
Yeah. Okay, I played around this idea before. I think I told myself if I actually did have had a girlfriend back then, that would have been a big barrier from me deciding to come overseas study. But hey, I've been single since birth, so yep, never had a problem. Yeah. Okay, honestly, I think it's more one of the things that I felt I definitely sacrificed was some friendships that I had with my friends in Singapore. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things that really made me really sad to leave Singapore, because it's just like I have all these like friend groups that I have right now with me and everything. There's so much friends around, and everything. And if I want to catch up with them, it's so easy. I can just text them, meet up with them in Singapore, and all that kind of stuff. Just take an MRT down and hey yo, we're here. Let's meet in Dhoby Ghaut. We're here. That kind of stuff. I think that was probably the hardest thing that I had to, in a sense, sacrifice, if I were to put it that way, because yeah, like I said lah, like when I went overseas, I'm essentially leaving my life in Singapore behind, and that includes my relationships with my friends and everything. And I definitely felt that as well, cause partly my bad. I'm pretty bad at keeping in very constant touch, especially when I came to Australia. But of course, my life got quite busy afterwards when I started making a life here in Australia. So yeah, I was quite hard to stay in touch with a lot of friends in Singapore. So that's why eventually it's like, the constant interactions that I had with my friends when I was in Singapore, it kind of just faded away lah, because I just wasn't there. Yeah. And the distance, yeah, really does affect the friendship in some ways. Not in bad ways, it's just, the interactions is lesser now. And the camaraderie is kind of lesser as well. And then like definitely I'm still friends with all my friends for sure. It's just that the frequency of interactions and the frequency of relationship building with my friends is just a lot lesser now because I'm just not there anymore. And I guess it depends on some friends here and there. Like there are some friends when I just call and like if I call and talk to them, it's like and interact with them, right? We just act and it feels like I've never left at all because our dynamic is as such. But there are some people who is like, oh hi, I haven't seen you for so long. Tweet. And you're like, okay, yeah. Yeah, like once since we talked, what do we talk about again? Yeah, but honestly different friends different now, and it depends on the people as well. So
True.
yeah, different depends on dynamics. Yeah.
It seems like we have gone through this conversation talking about having an open mind, and your whole personality is always very cheerful and very optimistic. It seems like you are not sad at all, or at least are you good at hiding it or something? Is there something that you use as a coping mechanism to mask your struggles that you're going through? Or yeah.
Okay, yeah. So personally for me, I think I definitely do have a comparatively optimistic take to life. And I would say as well, a big part of that is definitely due to my religion as well as a Christian. I definitely believe in God, and I mean, of course, I'm a Christian, but I believe that my God has great sovereignty, authority, and power over life. And He is a God who has all this power, and He's by my side, on my side, that kind of thing as well. So, and He has really good intentions for me in terms of my life and all that kind of stuff. Of course, with lots of wisdom, everything. Long story short, but I think what I've learned is learning to have peace in His authority and His power, and knowing that it's the same feeling as if you having that one friend whom you can really rely on. In a pinch, you know who exactly who to call and everything like that. So for me, that is essentially who God is in my life. I know that, and of course, you amplify that times infinity because He is more than just a good friend that you can rely on. He's the divine being that you can rely on as well. So I think based off of that, I've learned to find peace in that, and peace and assurance in God. Yeah. So that's for me personally. And I think that's the core root of it all. And I think through that as well, I've learned to see all the blessings that life can offer you and all the wonderful things that can happen as well. Yeah, I think this is something I really thank God for because, how we always, I definitely do see the negative things in life as well. I definitely gone through my own episodes of my low moments for sure. And those are definitely not very pretty moments as well. It's very ugly moments. I think after those periods of suffering or through those periods of trials and I guess going through those low moments, I eventually also could see or develop an eye to see, the blessings in life, the good things in life, and realize, there is definitely hope in life and there's still things in life that brings joy. Yeah, so I think that is generally how I keep my cheerful self in terms of learning to see the good in things and especially learning to see the good in people as well.
Nice to hear.
Thank you.
A lot of other people also have beliefs in their own gods and their own religions that also pull them along, someone to look up to. And a lot of people also believe in themselves. In terms of just if they have really no one to call upon, they have themselves that they are trying to sort of like figure out. And you sort of are there by the way you are presenting this whole conversation out, which is pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So now I guess we should come to a close. With the people who are listening back home and on Spotify and everywhere else, what is something that you want to tell these people who are wondering where they should go in their life next?
The first step that you need to do first is to know yourself, know who you are as a person, know essentially what are the areas that you feel you can look at in terms or you can see yourself doing. But that by itself, as much as I can sum that out in a sentence, that is not very easy to do because there are so many elements in life that you need to consider, lots of things that you need to think about as well, based on your situation, based on your environment and all that kind of stuff. So it's really not as straightforward as that. But I think the first core thing is to first look at yourself, know what kind of person you are, and think about what areas you can see yourself doing realistically, and then learn to be flexible and take into consideration all the elements that your situation in life presents at you, all the limitations and all the both the limitations but also the opportunities that you can look at, and from there learn to be flexible and adjust accordingly. And I guess be flexible in your thinking as well, and your expectations, because we all wish to settle and have that one set plan in life that will get us success for the rest of our lives. But that is a very unrealistic goal. So instead, learning to love yourself, be kind to yourself, and learning to lower the expectations on yourself and understand, you need to take life one step at a time instead of trying to do a one-size-fit-all plan for the rest of your life. That is something that is probably a good core habit that I would encourage people to have. Uncertainties will happen, curveballs will happen in life. So that's where you can learn to not be so hard on yourself and also learn to be flexible when you reach these hurdles in life as well. Yeah.
My name is Nikki Adot,
And my name is James.
and we hope to see you guys on
The next adventure.
Goodbye.
Bye.